Life can be unpredictable. In an instant everything is fine, and the next moment the ground gives way beneath our feet. This is the story of a mother and her son who faced dark times and discovered that compassion can transform lives. What happened next was something no one expected. Stay until the end to learn about this moving story, and if you like it, don't forget to leave a like. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any content. The story begins in a small town where Rafiq, a hard-working man, dedicated his life to ensuring that his family had a dignified future. He lived with his wife Amina and his two children Karim and his older sister Nadia. The family's life was modest but happy. Rafiq worked as a mason and dreamed of one day providing better living conditions for his wife and children. He had managed to build a small two-story house where they lived with joy and gratitude. However, fate had other plans. On an ordinary day, while working on a construction site, Rafiq suffered a fatal accident. A beam fell from a scaffold and struck him directly. The impact was immediate. He did not survive his injuries and died on the spot. The devastating news spread quickly, leaving Amina in shock. At 28 years old, she found herself a widow, without any source of income, and with two children to support. The first days after the tragedy were filled with mourning and despair. The company where Rafiq worked offered a small compensation, but the money was not enough to cover the family's expenses for long. Amina did not have a job and depended entirely on her husband. When the mourning began to give way to reality, she realized that she needed to act quickly to ensure her children's sustenance. Unfortunately, difficulties started to pile up. Once surrounded by relatives and friends, Amina noticed how people began to drift away. Those who were once supportive now avoided contact, as if afraid that she would ask for help. And indeed, Amina needed help. But no one offered. They say that in times of hardship, even relatives become strangers, and she felt that truth in her own skin. With bills piling up and money running out, Amina had to make a difficult decision: leave home and look for work. Her son Karim, only 12 years old, noticed his mother's suffering but could do nothing. He wanted to help her, but he knew that his only option was to continue studying and hope that things would improve. After searching for days, Amina managed to get a job as a domestic worker in a house. The salary was small, but it was enough to keep them going for a while. However, she soon realized that one job would not be enough. The bills kept coming, food was running out, and she needed more income. So she took on 2 more cleaning jobs. Now she spent her days and nights working to try to keep the household afloat. Even with 3 jobs, the income was still low. Almost half of what she earned was used to keep Karim and Nadia in school. What was left was spent on food and rent. Amina barely had time to sleep, and gradually, the exhaustion began to affect her physically and emotionally. She was no longer the cheerful woman she once was. The mourning for her husband, combined with the weight of responsibility, consumed her. Karim, on the other hand, did his best to stay focused on his studies. But at home, he saw his mother's suffering and felt helpless. The financial difficulties were evident. Some days there was little food, and his mother pretended not to be hungry just to ensure that he and Nadia could eat. But it wasn't long before hunger began to affect him. One day, Karim went 2 days without eating anything but water. His body grew weak, his head hurt, and his vision became blurry. At school, Karim's teacher, named Yasir, noticed that something was wrong. The boy looked pale, with sunken eyes, and seemed incapable of paying attention in class. Yasir approached him and gently asked, "Karim, are you all right?" Karim hesitated before answering. He didn't want anyone to know about the situation at home. But, with the teacher's insistence, he ended up confessing, "We have no food at home, sir. I haven't eaten for 2 days." Yasser's heart sank upon hearing that. Without a second thought, he called the school janitor and handed him money to buy something for Karim to eat. Minutes later, the janitor returned with bread and milk. Initially hesitant, Karim accepted the food. Each bite seemed to restore his strength. He felt his body reacting, his vision clearing, and for the first time in days he felt relief. After Karim finished eating, Yasir sat down beside him and said, "I want you to come to my office after class. We need to talk." When the school bell rang to signal the end of the day, Karim walked to the teacher's room feeling a bit better, but still weak. Yasir was waiting for him. "Karim, tell me something. Does your mother work?" "Yes, sir. She has 3 jobs, but even so, we cannot pay all the bills." The teacher shook his head thoughtfully. He knew he had to do something. He grabbed his bicycle and said, "Come with me." The two went to the market. Yasir bought bags full of rice, beans, flour, sugar, and other essential supplies. Then he took Karim to his home. When they arrived, Amina was not there yet, as she worked until late at night. So Yasir placed all the groceries in the kitchen and said to Karim, "From today on, I will make sure that your family has enough food. You need to focus on your studies, and I don't want hunger to be a problem." Karim could not believe what he was hearing. For the first time in months, he felt a weight lifted from his shoulders. When his mother arrived home that night, she was shocked to see the supplies. "How did we get all this?" she asked in surprise. Karim explained that it was Professor Yasir who helped. Amina couldn't hold back her tears. She had not expected a stranger to offer help when even her own relatives did not care. Deeply grateful, she prayed for the professor, asking God to reward him for his kindness. Yasir not only helped with food, he also managed to speak with the school administration and ensured that Karim's overdue tuition fees were forgiven. Now, Karim could study without worrying whether his mother could pay the school fees. Even with a modest salary, Yasir kept his promise. Every month he sent groceries to Karim's home. Moreover, he made frequent visits to ensure that the family was well. He knew that the only way for Karim to escape poverty was through education, and he wanted to give him that chance. Yasir's kindness was a turning point for Karim. The boy began to dedicate himself even more to his studies, determined to have a better future and repay all the help he had received. Yasir's support made all the difference in Karim's life. From that moment on, not only was he able to eat better, but he also devoted himself even more to his studies. The fear and uncertainty that had consumed him began to give way to a new feeling: hope. He realized that despite the difficulties, there were still good people in the world, willing to help without expecting anything in return. Every month, Yasir continued sending groceries to Karim's home. Furthermore, he frequently encouraged the boy not to give up on school. Over time, Karim began to stand out as one of the best students in his class. He knew that his education was the only way to ensure a better future for his mother and his sister. So, he worked hard in every subject, as if his life depended on it, and in a way, it did. As Karim advanced in his studies, his mother continued to work tirelessly. But now, knowing that her son was no longer going hungry and that his school fees were taken care of, Amina began to feel some relief. She still struggled to pay the rent and other expenses, but at least she had one less burden to carry. The gratitude she felt for Yasir was immense, and every night, as she prayed, she asked God to bless him for his kindness. Years passed, and Karim finally reached the last year of high school. His dedication to his studies was rewarded. He received a scholarship to a prestigious university. The news brought tears to his mother's eyes, who felt that all the sacrifices were finally paying off. Karim, for his part, knew that none of this would have been possible without Yasir. Before leaving for university, he went to visit his teacher to thank him in person. When he arrived at Yasir's house, he realized that something was wrong. The man who had helped him so much now looked older and tired. Karim became worried and asked, "Professor Yasir, are you all right?" The teacher smiled weakly and replied, "I'm fine, my son. It's just the years taking their toll." But Karim knew it wasn't just age. Yasir no longer worked at the school. With his health failing, he had been forced to retire. Without a fixed salary, his life had become difficult. Now it was he who needed help. Karim did not hesitate. He immediately arranged medical assistance for his former teacher and began sending food and supplies to his home every month. He knew he could never repay all that Yasir had done for him, but at least he could ensure that the teacher and his family would not suffer. Over time, Karim's mother developed a strong bond with Yasir's daughter. They became close friends, and eventually, Amina suggested that Karim and Yassir's daughter get married. The professor was moved by the idea. He had never expected that his kindness would return to him in such a significant way. The wedding was a moment of celebration for both families. For Karim, it was the fulfillment of a cycle. The man who had saved him years ago was now becoming his father-in-law. The love and respect he felt for Yassir were immeasurable, and he promised that he would never let the professor go without help. The years passed, and Karim continued his academic journey with complete dedication. He knew that he could not waste the opportunity he had been given. During his university years, he worked part-time and sent money to his mother and his sister, ensuring that they lived with more dignity. Each day was a new challenge, but he did not give up. He knew that his mother had once carried the weight of the world on her shoulders for him and his sister, and now it was his turn to repay her. When he finally graduated, Karim received a job offer from a large company. His first paycheck was a moment of pure emotion. For the first time, he felt that all the struggle had been worth it. He could now take care of his mother, his sister, and also the teacher who once helped him without expecting anything in return. As soon as he received his first payment, the first thing he did was visit his mother's house. Arriving there, he hugged her tightly and said, "Mom, you will never have to work again. Now it's my turn to take care of you." Amina wept with joy. For years she had dreamed of that moment, but never imagined it would come so soon. Karim not only ensured that his mother had a dignified life, but also made sure that his sister could continue her studies without worrying about money. He wanted Nadia to have the same opportunity he had. Besides helping his family, Karim also wanted to repay Yassir. He never forgot that if it hadn't been for that teacher, he would never have reached where he was. So on a special day, he went to Yassir's house and said, "Professor, it's time for me to take care of you just as you took care of me." He made sure that Yassir had access to proper medical treatment, renovated his house, and ensured that he and his family would never face hardship again. The professor, moved, thanked him. "I never did all this expecting anything in return, Karim, but seeing the man you have become is the greatest reward I could receive." Yassir's kindness had changed Karim's life, and now Karim used that same kindness to change the lives of others. Inspired by everything he had experienced, he decided to create an institution to help underprivileged children gain access to education. He knew that just as he once needed help, there were many other children going through the same difficulties. The impact of his initiative was immense. Hundreds of children received help, schools were renovated, and many young people got a new chance at life just as Karim did. And all of this began with a single act of compassion from a teacher who believed in him when no one else did. Years passed, and Karim became a symbol of hope. His story was told in various schools, inspiring both students and teachers. He never forgot where he came from, and always reminded everyone of the importance of helping others. And so the cycle of kindness continued. The boy who once went hungry and fainted at school was now a man capable of transforming the future of others. And all of this began with a simple act of compassion. So friends, that was our story for today. What did you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. Take care and see you in the next video.